Their names are legendary. Their destinies linked. An ageless myth meets an uncompromising master. Dracula.
This video is brought to you by Roderick Hare, who is a new member here on Burns Reviews YouTube members. If you would like to request a video or vote on a video, see behind the scenes footage, be sure to check out our YouTube memberships. We've gotten rid of Patreon, and now we're basically just consolidating down to YouTube memberships. Be sure to check it out. We have some fun there. We talk about movies. We do all kinds of stuff. I post on there every single day. That's my pledge, at least for 2025. I can't believe we're in 2025. Be sure to check it out, and for all of you non-subscribers, I'm also pledging to you guys that I'm going to try to respond to every single comment down below. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of End and Explain. My name is John here on Burns Reviews, and today we are breaking down the classic from Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula from 1992. But before we begin, if you could, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe so that this video doesn't get blood sucked from very questionable places. Also, it's going to be a lot of spoilers for this movie, so if you haven't seen this movie, we do have some spoiler-free videos right here for NOSFERATU, which just came out. Otherwise, be sure to strap in. It's a wild, horny ride as we talk about Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Dracula had its world premiere on November 10th, 1992 in Hollywood, California at the famous Mann's Chinese Theater before being released everywhere 2 days later on November 13th. On a budget of $40 million and grossing $30 million in its opening weekend, which at the time beat out the highest grossing movie to ever come out in the month of November, Back to the Future Part 2, who had previously grossed $27.8 million. It was in theaters for 9 straight weeks, grossing $82.5 million domestically and $133 million worldwide. This movie was kind of a big deal. Maybe that's not like Doom too big, and that year it probably would have been like Batman Returns, but more maybe like Beetlejuice. Best believe those goth kids, they're out there, making it one of the highest grossing vampire movies of all time. Not to mention, it led to a lot of other films to be greenlit, including De Niro in Frankenstein, Nicholson in Wolf, Julia Roberts in the Jekyll and Hyde movie Mary Riley, and of course, Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt in Interview with the Vampire.
Kill them swiftly if you will, but do it!
Filming began in October 14th of 1991 and concluded on January 31st of 1992. The film was primarily shot in Los Angeles, California, with a production notable for its use of practical effects and in-camera techniques, as director Francis Ford Coppola aimed to create a visually unique adaptation of the classic novel. Coppola at the time was best known for the Godfather trilogy, The Conversation, and Apocalypse Now.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Originally, Winona Ryder was set to play Pacino's daughter in The Godfather Part 3, but had to drop out due to health issues. Not wanting there to be any bad blood between her and the director for what could have been the greatest trilogy of all time, Ryder came to Coppola with a copy of a script for Dracula, written by James V. Hart, who was just hot off of writing the movie Hook, and offered to be in it as the lead Mina. As it turns out, Dracula was Coppola's favorite story as a kid, as he loved the campiness, and was elated at the idea of tackling the project as his next film. Coppola also said he was attracted to the sensual elements of the screenplay and said that he wanted portions of the picture to resemble an erotic dream. You've got Dracula as a wolfman giving ladies the red rocket, ladies whose tears turn into diamonds, unclear reincarnation plot points, inconsistent gray wigs, Winona giving Dracula the Hawk Tua whenever licking his chest cuts. It's out there.
The children of what sweet music, Thugmore.
You ever just go for a walk in the snow? No distractions, just you, your thoughts, and the perfect soundtrack? That's my go-to when I'm brainstorming ideas for my next video. And lately, I've been doing it with these Raycon everyday earbuds because, let's be real, I don't want to hear anything except my own thoughts and some chill synthwaves while I do it. These active noise-canceling earbuds block out the outside world, letting you stay focused whether you're out walking, at the gym, or just kicking back. And with 8 hours of playtime on a single charge, plus an extra hour and a half of battery from just 10 minutes of quick charging, you're never stuck without music. One of my favorite features? they can connect to 2 devices at once. So let's just say I'm watching something on my computer and need to take a call, I can switch over seamlessly, no fumbling with the settings. And they've got a new ergonomic design with a fresh lineup of colors, including deep red, forest green, royal blue, and my personal favorite, Jolly Rancher Watermelon, which personally I think would make for a perfect holiday gift. They're earbuds that smile back at you. Personally, I got the carbon black, but that's only because I fight crime at night and because I like the classic look. But they all look great. Plus, with easy touch controls, you don't have to pull out your phone to switch tracks or adjust volume. Just a quick tap and you're good to go. And if you're picky about sound like I am, Raycon's got you covered with 3 distinctive sound profiles. Pure sound, which is perfect for podcasts and audiobooks. Balanced sound, which is great for jazz, pop, and rock. And bass sound, if you're into hip-hop or EDM, that one's for you. So if you want to grab a pair for yourself at an affordable price, by the way, click my link in the description or head to buyraycon.com/burnsreviews to get 20% off plus free shipping. These earbuds have over 50,000 5-star reviews, and after using them, I get why. They're dust-proof, water-resistant, and built for anyone who values peace, focus, and great sound. Whether you're working, walking, or just tuning everything else out. And right now you can grab yourself a pair for 20% off plus free shipping when you click my link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/burnsreviews. So don't wait, level up your sound, block out the noise, and hear what you've been missing with Raycon Everyday Earbuds, a link in the description below.
Welcome to my home.
Gary Oldman, who plays the Count, took the role because he wanted to work with Coppola and because he simply wanted to say the line, "I crossed oceans of time to find you." And hey, it's pretty great. This is peak 90s villain era Gary Oldman. Back when he was making movies like True Romance, Sid and Nancy, JFK, State of Grace, The Fifth Element, Air Force One, and my personal favorite, The Professional.
Vanny, bring me everyone. What do you mean everyone?
It's good shit. Christian Slater was offered the role of Jonathan Harker, but he turned it down, a decision he would later regret. As for the casting of Keanu Reeves, Coppola said, "He tried so hard. That was the problem, actually. He wanted to do it perfectly, and in trying to do it, it perfectly came off as stilted. I tried to get him to just relax with it and not try to do it so fastidiously. So maybe I wasn't as critical on him, but that's because I like him personally so much. To this day, he's a prince in my eyes." Aww. I do love Keanu Reeves. I have a signed record from Keanu Reeves when I saw him in concert as a Dog Star, and the dude is a fucking prince in my eyes too. Coppola had the entire film storyboarded from start to finish, telling his artists to make it as weird as possible. The word weird on set became code for "let's not do formula," as Coppola wanted to do something that was vastly different than the traditional Dracula that was known for his black widow's peak and pale white skin. He told his people, "Give me something that either comes from the research or that comes from your own nightmares." By design, it's meant to feel like a nightmare. It's meant to feel like, oh, why is grandma here? And why is my principal here? And he's naked and he's singing happy birthday. I don't know. That's what a nightmare is. I don't know. After Apocalypse Now, Coppola wanted the film completed on time and on budget. So to accomplish this, he shot the film almost entirely on sound stages in order to avoid complications that might arise due to weather. As far as the special effects, Coppola insisted on avoiding CGI. He initially hired a traditional visual effects team. However, when they couldn't pull off what he wanted, he fired them and hired his son, Roman Coppola, to execute the visual effects entirely with on-set and in-camera methods. Techniques included rear projection, where actors performed in front of a projected image, and multiple exposures, where scenes were layered on the same piece of film. Forced perspectives combined with miniatures and matte paintings with full-sized elements, while unconventional camera angles created eerie, distorted visuals. For Dracula's point of view, Roman used erratic frame rates to create an unsettling effect, while Lucy's movements were filmed in reverse for a supernatural feel. Every visual effect in this film was achieved without digital or optical assistance, although there is one. The blue flames, which we're going to talk about at the end of the video, that is CGI. But we're going to come back to that. So how does Dracula end? So much like NOSFERATU, it all starts with a young man going to Transylvania to close a real estate deal with the Count Dracula.
Count Dracula.
I am Dracula.
400 years before the start of this movie, Dracula was a soldier for the church that went on a holy crusade to crush his enemies, while his wife, Elisabetta, stayed home and waited for his return. Dracula kicks ass and wins the war, but his enemies are spiteful little shits, so they send a letter to his wife saying that he got killed in the battle. This causes her to unalive herself by jumping into the ocean. Dracula returns, finds out, the priest tells him that she's going to hell because she committed an act that leads to damnation, and Dracula gets big sad. Feeling betrayed by the god that he served so hard on the battlefield, and essentially makes a blood oath to get vengeance and reunite with his beloved. And look man, it's a bit trippy. All the little cement children are crying blood, and Anthony Hopkins is like, blah! But regardless, this gives him Dracula powers. Skip ahead 400 years, and Keanu Reeves meets Dracula, and he looks suspiciously like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
His hairdo looks so queer.
I heard that. He was a boy.
He sees a picture of his fiancée in his locket and goes, I know her. So he traps Jonathan in his castle, using a few of his undead brides, who keep him there by sucking his blood and giving him snoo-snoo. Fun fact, one of the brides is played by Monica Bellucci.
But you have to give me something.
What?
A kiss.
Crazy how very little has changed in 10 years. Anyway, Dracula takes the last voyage of the Demeter back to England to find Mina, who he believes is his reincarnated bride.
See me now.
When he gets there, he makes the bold move of having his way with her best friend Lucy, which...
Seriously?
What?
Granted, in Nosferatu, something similar does happen. Anyway, Dracula must have given Lucy werewolf AIDS because now she's super sick and no modern medicine is helping. Honestly though, for all we know, Lucy could have had syphilis because
Civilization and civilization have advanced together.
stringing along multiple suitors that I like to call the Lucy Boys. One being Billy Campbell, aka the Rocketeer, who is known as Quincy.
Please let me touch it. It's so big.
The second being her doctor, Jack Seward.
Quincy.
Jack.
And of course her fiance, Lord Arthur Homewood, played by Cary Elwes, who would later go on to be in Stranger Things with Winona Ryder. But like I said, in pure desperation, they turned to Professor Van Helsing, played by Anthony Hopkins, who is, again, the same actor who was the priest in the prologue, who is basically like, look, nothing's gonna help this lady, I think she's a vampire. He's got his big vampire book, and he's like, we gotta find this dude, we gotta find Dracula, put a stake through his heart, it's the only thing that's gonna help.
She lives beyond the grace of God. She's vampire. NOSFERATU.
Meanwhile, a recently married Mina is in town when she gets glamored by a very charismatic looking Dracula, who now is proclaiming himself to be a prince, who is just in town to take in the sights. He gives her a bit of the Green Fairy, back when it was really strong back in the day, and they go see a little dirty movie. They dance, they hang out, she pets his wolf, Jonathan is able to escape the castle and go to the convent where Mina meets with him and they get married, and Dracula finds out and gets big sad with some big sad vampire blood tears. Gross. And Van Helsing and the Lucy Boys kill her the following day. But this is where things really start to heat up in this movie. Once Jonathan and Mina return to London, Jonathan helps Van Helsing on his crusade, seeing as how he is the one who knows where all of his properties are. They destroy his coffins full of vampire soil, which is what he needs to travel and also what gives him his power away from the castle. And then Dracula appears to Mina as this really cool smoke effect. It's this bright green. Like I said, this movie is trippy. And while at first, she's mad as hell for killing her best friend, but after like a minute or two, she's like, I can't stay mad at you. So she goes into this big trance, and in what is a very provocative shot, she proceeds to suckle his rib cage area, and this begins to turn her into a vampire at her request. And at this point, Dracula's like, I can't do it! It would be too wrong to condemn you to this damnation. And she's like, but I want it, Daddy. Do it. So he starts to do it, and things are getting very hot. The Lucy Boys kick the door in. Keanu Reeves is there, Anthony Hopkins, and he's like a ghost. Like, he's just not even there. She's molesting the air. He drops down as a giant man bat, which is pretty cool, because in every other version of Dracula, it's always a bat on a string just kind of flopping. No, they went all out in 5 different incarnations. Like, he's Dracula as an old man, a young man, a wolf man, a warrior, a bunch of rats, rats. They did not skimp on going on every particular type of version that Dracula has been cited as in the past. In the book, he's been referred to as the Other. I think it was a cool idea to try to divvy up the different kinds of ways that you can portray him, as opposed to just Bela Lugosi, Widow's Peak, white face type of idea. Fucking fucks. But again, you are left wondering, like, does she really remember, or is she just being glamored again? It's kind of unclear. And you're like, I don't know if her and Keanu are gonna work out. And it's like, I had a hard time caring, because I'm like, I don't know who I'm supposed to be rooting for. Am I supposed to be rooting for a very stilted Jonathan Harker, or should Mina be with Dracula? He ate a baby. I forgot to mention that. I have a baby. And Keanu's like, no! So Dracula gets away, and this begins the beginning of Act 3. Van Helsing is able to learn from Mina that Dracula is going back to his home castle. Our band of Lucy boys decide that they're going to kill Dracula. They know that he's traveling by ship, so they're going to take a train, which is a shortcut so they can get ahead of him. And they're going to meet up at the castle. The night before, though, Mina is a little bit too possessed. She starts seducing Anthony Hopkins a little bit. I've got some Eucharist. Shh! Burns her head. The brides show up, has like a protection spell, puts a little fire around him. And in the morning, he's like, I'm really mad you killed my horse. I'm gonna behead all three of you. The Lucy boys and Jonathan Harker are now on the heels of Dracula. He's in a crate. The sun is basically going down. However, like a jack-in-the-box, Dracula pops out. Now, Quincy, the Rocketeer, he gets killed. Of all the characters in this movie, I feel like he had the least amount invested in this whole dynamic. Mina and Dracula escape to the castle, and Van Helsing let them go, because much like her in Nosferatu, he realizes that it's only her who can bring this all to a close. You know, for the greater good. The greater good. And now we're back in the very same chapel where Dracula made a deal with the devil for vampire powers. Dracula and Mina kiss, and much like Beauty and the Beast, love saves the day because the candles light back up, the cross he stabbed is now repaired, and Dracula reverts back to his younger self. He asks Mina to give him peace, and she stabs him in the heart before cutting off his head. We see the mark on Mina's forehead disappear, symbolizing that the curse has been lifted. As Dracula lies dying, we pan up to the ceiling where we see Dracula and his bride reunited in the portrait, implying that all has been set right. Credits. So yeah, pretty bleak, but again, pretty beautiful too in a romantic kind of way. Director's statement. According to Francis Ford Coppola, when talking about the ending, he said, "This sequence, which is the final scene between Dracula and Mina, I remember I showed to my friend George Lucas, and he said, well, I think Mina ought to cut his head off." To which he said, wow, that's pretty disgusting. And he said, but that's the greatest act that she could give him, is to give him the peace and be the moment of, once again, being taken to God's breast, which only could be given to him by cutting off his head. It's like poetry, it rhymes. And this is actually a reshoot because originally she just stabs him, or the other guy stabs him, but she pushes it in deeper. They actually shot this 3 weeks before it went to release. I think the idea was to confirm that like there's no possible way Dracula could ever come back after that. But when speaking about the final shot of the film, Coppola said, "And such is the end. They go off to heaven as lovers always do. Paolo and Francesca, Dracula and Elisabetta, and on and on. The end." Which I think implies that Elisabetta is already in heaven and Mina is either a descendant, a lookalike, or perhaps a reincarnated version. If I had to guess though, I think she's reincarnated, Dracula lived for 400 years, and Van Helsing is a descendant of the priest that we see in the prologue. James V. Hart, the screenwriter, said he had significant input on the ending of the film and had shared his thoughts about it in various interviews as well. Hart envisioned the ending as a tragic and romantic culmination of the film's central love story between Dracula and Mina. In the film's ending, Mina ultimately shows mercy and love by ending Dracula's suffering, allowing him to achieve peace and redemption. This conclusion does diverge from the novel, where Dracula is killed in a more straightforward kind of way. He loved the idea of love being eternal and transformative, even for a monstrous character such as Dracula. This choice helped make the film be more operatic and emotionally impactful, underscoring the romantic tragedy that sets the adaptation apart from others. As the Joker once said, "For some, all it takes is one bad day." This leads Dracula to damnation, condemning not only his god and his people, but himself in the process. Mina is the tool that is able to set him free and give him the redemption of a romantic and emotional level, even if it's not on a moral one. The film deals heavily with themes of love, loss, and humanity, and by the very end, through sacrifice, Dracula is able to find his own. The film invites the audience to empathize with the human core beneath the monster, leaving viewers to grapple with their own interpretation of redemption. It's the ambiguity that has sparked such an enduring debate about the film's ending. I could not condemn you to such a horrible fate. There's also an alternate ending on the DVD, only in this version Jonathan Harker comes back into the room to comfort Mina, implying that the two are able to salvage their relationship after all the events that went down. Which honestly I think is kind of sweet to see for my own headcanon, but not necessarily what we need for the film. We also got a shot of our band of Mary Lucy men carrying our friend the Rocketeer, who's honestly the only dude who gets killed off in this movie. Everyone else is a lady. They picked him up and they carry him out to take him home. So, you know, good on them. Good on ya. Good on ya, Taylor-Joy. Also, before we head out, the blue flames of fire, these giant blue flames rings that we see with Mina and the castle in the beginning, what are they about? I looked it up. So, according to European folklore, the blue flames symbolize the supernatural energy and are traditionally meant to mark places where treasure or powerful magic is hidden. However, in the film, when Jonathan first encounters them, they are meant to represent the crossing from the mortal world into Dracula's cursed supernatural domain. As far as Mina being able to control them in the third act, it is symbolic of her deepening bond with Dracula and the evolution of her character's arc. By this point of the story, she had drank Dracula's blood and is quickly becoming more and more like him as the sun goes down, and this is just to show the audience that she is crossing over into vampirism as quickly as the sun sets, while also showing how internally conflicted she is between her love of Dracula and the love for who she once was beforehand. I think what ultimately tips the scales in the conclusion is, at this point, right or wrong, Lucy decided to throw down with Dracula and become a vampire. And after the fact, she has seen all of the Lucy boys in Van Helsing, her husband, you know, stab vampires, kill vampires, and at this point, she's like, my husband might do the same with me, so it might be better off to just go with Dracula. And she even asked Jonathan Harker, she's like, are you gonna do the same to me? And Keanu, being the coolest dude ever, is like, no. And at that point, I think that the scales tip a little bit where she's like, you know what? I love Jonathan Harker. I don't want to be Elizabeta. I want to be Mina. That's where I belong. And that leads her to the conclusion where she picks up the reins and decides, I'm going to end Dracula and go back to my original life. Completing the hero journey, coming all the way back home. Special shout out to new member Roderick Hare who requested this video. If you want to request a video, vote on polls, see exclusive behind the scenes content on how we do this all, be sure to check out our newly launched YouTube memberships and join our little horror community. Also, special thanks to this week's sponsor Raycon. Be sure to click the link below in the description to get 20% off using promo code Burns Reviews. I love mine. They were probably my favorite thing to get this holiday season, so be sure to check them out. Best earbuds I ever had that were under $100. Be sure to check the link down below, subscribe, ring that bell, and I will see you next time.